What's up, y'all? So I had one of those social media memories pop up on me today, and it vaulted me back to the great FIC key shortage of 2012 that was caused indirectly by a couple of hurricanes. That's right. If you are not familiar with an FIC key, FIC keys are used in millions and millions of RVs, travel trailers, mobile homes. They have a paddle mechanism with a pull handle and sometimes one or two key cylinders on it. And the keys used to be FIC ones. And then in 2012, they changed them to what is now known as what is now sold as FIC 3. JMA is a company that still sells, it looks like they still sell FIC 1 blanks, but literally there's no reason to ever be buying an FIC 1 key blank. The only difference between an FIC 1 and an FIC 3 is the length of the shoulder. They didn't change anything that had to do with the key part of it or where the key goes into the lock. It is strictly a longer key blank in this area. Not here, not in the important area that intersects with the lock, but it's actually in the shoulder from here to here. Now, typically in the locksmith world, that is usually done because the manufacturer changes a design, just like when Honda changed it from the HD95 to the HD103. Again, this part of the key is unchanged. It is simply a longer key blank this way. Typically, manufacturers do that when they change a lock or when they build a vehicle or whatever with trim that has a recessed cylinder. So they have a super thick, maybe a door handle, and the cylinder is recessed into it. In Honda's case, it was an ignition thing. And if you came along and tried to cut, and the car had a longer, the HD103 blank, and you tried to use a 95 blank, it would jam up in there. It was a whole thing at the time. I don't know why they changed the FIC to a longer blank. In theory, it's because of that, but I've never run across an instance where one of those paddle handles had a recessed cylinder. The only thing I can think of is, and I know because there are still recalls on those locks from 2006 to 2013. You can see it on their website. Fastec, which is now Wesco Fastec, has a website up, and if you have a certain range of locks, there was an issue with them. Well, why was there an issue with locks from 2006 to 2013, Jason? Well, that's what we're about to talk about. But as one of our subscribers, James Randolph, would say, this really needs a whiteboard. So FEMA trailers, or Federal Emergency Management Agency trailers, have been around for a long time, going all the way back to early 1900s, but they became really popular during the 04-05 hurricane season. The trailers were built and designed by FEMA contractors to house the populace of a region that was affected by a natural disaster. In the case that we're talking about hurricanes. Hurricanes come through fairly often in the South and will flood neighborhoods, destroy towns, and the FEMA representatives would either put people up in hotel rooms, but that quickly filled up, they reached capacity. So FEMA had to have a way to house thousands and thousands of people, so they came up with the ideas to just have trailers, FEMA trailers, or what we call them in the South now, Katrina trailers. They're mobile homes, just like that. They've got a few wheels so that they can get towed and put into place. And they've got usually one or two doors, and on that door is our FIC locks. That's right, FIC locks were part of the construction of these trailers. So in 2004, we had Hurricane Charlie, and FEMA distributed about 170,000 trailers. 170,000. And then in 05, we had Katrina. During Katrina, they distributed another 150,000. Now, these two were pretty much back to back. So during this time, some of these trailers were still occupied by the people that were affected by Hurricane Charlie. So all of a sudden, FEMA is in charge of approximately 300,000 of these trailers. Well, come to find out, that in 2005, hurricane rolled through, rebuilding started. They started, bulldozing neighborhoods to get them out. And in the meantime, to put these people up, they kind of built entire neighborhoods of these trailers. Entire neighborhoods, entire communities were built, and they would back them in, and you'd have trailer and trailer and trailer and trailer, and then you'd have a road, and then even more trailers. And with the amount of people in this area, it was soon discovered in 2006, when everybody was already in these trailers and living, that some of the keys were fitting their neighbors' locks. And that is because FIC keys have a very limited range of numbering. In fact, in an actual FIC instance, there's only 50 change keys. That's right, there's only 50. In your normal residential locks like Kwikset or Schlage or anything like that, that are used on trailers in a different construction method, there's thousands of changes, so there's far less likely to be interchanges. But when you only have 50 change keys or 50 unique keys, and you have all these trailers side by side, it was quickly discovered that Bob's key would fit Mary's trailer. Bob lived here, Mary lived here. Either one of them could go across the street and borrow sugar without the other's permission if they weren't home. So there were a few news articles about this. Some blamed one locksmith. I'm not sure about that news article. The reason why this was never really brought to light is because most of the time when people buy RVs or travel trailers, they take them and they're all over the place. You know, you have this state down here, you have travel trailers all over the place. Maybe a couple of people have two of them, but for the most part, none of these people were close enough to know that Bob and Mary over here, 20 miles away, it wouldn't really matter if they had their own key. But when you start packing them in side by side like they did for these neighborhoods, they quickly discovered that a lot of the keys were changed. So in 2006, behind the scenes, FIC, Fastec, this was, as soon as it came to light, as soon as they started hearing reports that people have discovered that, they were furiously working behind the scenes. Fastec, I don't know what the acronym is, Fastec, FIC keys. They were over here going, we got to do something to do this. FEMA, who had put up, and we're in Jackson, Mississippi, which is only a few hours off the coast, so we had a lot of evacuees here. We were dealing with a whole lot of our own issues in the area with this sudden influx of new people and housing. In addition to that, FEMA themselves were putting in office buildings for people to go to so that they could get assistance. So in addition to all our regular work, we had all this extra work. And FEMA in 2006, when this came to light, started furiously calling every locksmith in the South. We got the phone call. We didn't accept the work to go down and go into these neighborhoods and start changing the locks. We didn't take the work at the time because we were already slammed here. We couldn't afford to send somebody down there and deal with, and really didn't want to deal with the hot mess that was here, because we knew, because we had been cutting FIC keys for a long time prior to all this mess, we knew that there was going to be a whole lot of issues involved with this with only 50 change keys. Now, I don't know who ended up accepting the work. I'm sure a lot of companies ended up going down there and doing this if they supplied the locks. But during this time, between 2006 and what the paperwork shows as 2013, there ended up being a flaw in the locks. So what I surmise happened was we have the FIC1 key and the FIC3 key. I'm guessing because Ilco has always been kind of the major player in making keys. They've already got the equipment. A lot of companies, and we order key blanks from Ilco, but a lot of companies also get Ilco to make their keys. So I'm guessing that Ilco and Fastec were already familiar with this. So Fastec immediately around 2012 area told Ilco, hey, we have to change this FIC1 to an FIC3 because we had to change the locks back in. We want to be able to differentiate the two. Again, no functional difference between the two styles of keys. So there's really no real reason that I see to have made them longer other than to be able to know, hey, this is an old style lock versus a new style lock. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. But anyway, long story short, people came out. I don't know what they did for all these people living side by side, but come to find out, all these trailers had like high formaldehyde. They were shoddily made because they were all quickly made. And we're talking thousands and thousands of them. And if you take 300,000 approximately, they probably had to destroy at least half of them. So you take that out, you say maybe 150,000. In 2008, FEMA was like, okay, we've been getting sued for this formaldehyde, probably got sued for the key thing, probably got sued for a whole lot of stuff. So we're stopping this whole trailer thing. They're out of the trailer business, and they have a whole bunch of trailers that are slowly being emptied. Some people lived in them for years after this, but for the most part, you all of a sudden have this huge influx of empty trailers, and you scrap a bunch of them, but some of them are okay, even though they have been sued about it. So they did what only any logical government company would do, and they put them up for auction. We have people coming in here bragging for a long time about $500 and $600 Katrina trailers that they bought. Here in the South, people take these trailers and go put them on their hunting land. So during the 2010, which is about when to 2012, this was about the heyday of Katrina trailer sales. And we were sometimes cutting dozens of these FIC keys. People would come in literally every single day getting these FIC keys made. And during August-ish of 2012, all distribution dried up because Ilco changed it from the 1 to the 3. For what reason, again, nobody ever knows for 100% sure, but we're assuming that they were doing it on the word of the company that made the locks. The locks that they made from 06 to 2013 apparently had a design flaw. If you take a key cylinder, you have 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and here's where you put the key in. Apparently, some of these locks from 06 to 2013, you were supposed to only be able to turn the key to the 3 o'clock position for the deadbolt to throw it out or to lock a part of the lock. However, some of the locks would turn to the 9 o'clock position and jam it up. And that would make it unable to be opened from the inside, which come to find out the National Transportation Board got involved because in a mobile home situation, you can't get stuck inside. Fire hazard, of course. So they forced FIC to put out a recall. I'm guessing that even though 2013 is listed on the paperwork, I'm guessing this was all happening behind the scenes for a solid year before that, which forced the change, possibly from FIC 1 to FIC 3. That's all I know about it. I'm guessing it's just a visual thing. They wanted to know. I don't know. But I do know that there's still a lot of Katrina trailers out at hunting camps everywhere, even though they're formaldehyde-y. I don't know how they work that out, but people that were paying $500 and $600 for a $10,000 trailer, which is supposedly what they were worth, then $500-$600 trailer to go live in once a weekend, once a month, every weekend, whatever. Anyway, that's the whole story behind this changeover from the FIC 1, which is what it was for a long time, right up until these hurricanes came through, and then this whole issue started, and now they're not in the trailer building business anymore because, as they quote in a couple of news articles, we learned our lesson from these two hurricanes. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, I would probably wiki it, but feel free to post. Thanks again for watching.